So we have a question over here. What happens when a line crosses two or more lines? Say we have a bunch of lines like this. So we are looking at what happens, what kind of things or what can we observe and so on and so forth. The relationship between this yellow line or orange line, sorry, with the red lines, with the white lines, my bad. So what is the relationship between the red line, I'm calling it as a red line, orange line and the white lines basically. Okay, so I'm interchanging red and orange there, but yeah, I mean this line. So line 1, let me call this a line 1. So what is the relationship between line 1 and say line A, B and C? So basically line 1 is your example of a transversal line. A transversal line is a line that cuts across two or more lines like a road crossing a train track. It creates angles where it meets each line, and these angles have special pattern, especially the lines that are parallel. Okay, yes, when we have two parallel lines and when we have a transversal line, that is a line cutting those two parallel lines, you have a bunch of properties that will help us with a lot of things. And it is used in a lot of places. Practically also it's used in a lot of places. So as a definition, transversal lines are lines that intersect two or more lines at different points. When a transversal crosses two lines, it creates 8 angles, 4 at each intersect. It's common sense. Because when two straight lines passes each other, we have 4 angles being created. So between two lines, it will be 8. So let me show this. Actually, there's an example also. Imagine parallel train tracks or something like this. And a line, this I should call it as line D and A. And we have a transversal line, say something like this. Let me call it as T. Line T is a transversal line. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 angles. At each crossing, dash angles are formed. At each crossing, 4 angles are formed, making 8 angles in total. Can you see that? Right? Such small observation will help us. Now, bunch of practice question. Draw two lines not parallel and a transversal crossing both. So we have already done this, but let me show it off. Actually, we have done this. Let me not do this. How many angles are formed when transversal crosses two lines? Yes, it is 8. Find a real world example of transversal like a road crossing two railway track or a zebra crossing intersecting lane lines. What else? Transversal, what I can see over here. I can see I have two, tiles, right? We have tiles and we have a wire crossing that. So that is one example, I guess. That I can say, and I can see quite a few, but yeah, I'll leave it to you guys. You should be able to do that. You should be doing that. Is it possible for all the 8 angles to have a different measure? Why or why not? Yeah, this is a good technical question. For this, I'll draw it over here. We have 1 and say some random 2. And this is your transversal line. Now, they're asking, can all these angles be not the same? Answer is no. But why no? Right? Why is this a no? Any idea? Because we have vertically opposite angles. By default, vertically opposite angles are equal. If this is, it looks like around 110 degree. This also will be 110 degree. So vertically opposite angles are by default equal. Okay. So that's why. Which among 5, what about 5 different angles? 6, 5, 4 and 3. Can they be different? Yeah, they can be. They can be, as they are not vertically opposite angles. Okay, so that's that. I think I don't have anything more. Yes. So what we are getting introduced to is a very simple concept known as transversal line. It's a line which crosses two different lines at two different points. So here line A and line B, it's crossing at two different points, say point P1 and P2. Of course, it can cross more than two lines. So in this case, we have it line 1 crossing three different lines. So we just looked at few commonsensical points that there are 8 angles when it crosses two lines, and that you can't have all the angles to be different because we have vertically opposite angles that have to be same. But of course, if you compare, if you take up scenario like this, like 5, 6, 3, 4, they can be different. That is, they can be different. Reason being, as they are not vertically opposite angles. Okay, so yeah, you can pause and have a look.